How does God make himself known? Welcome back, guys, to Reading the Bible in a Year. This is day 36. We're in Exodus. If you didn't know, we are currently reading through the Bible chronologically in a year, and there's more information if you want to join me on this journey in the description of this video below. So today we're doing Exodus 5 through 9, and there's a lot to cover here. There's a lot to break down. So I want to just focus on kind of an overview of all of the chapters instead of the specific kind of neat things that happen within the chapter. If I was to summarize these chapters, it would be how God makes himself known. Before Exodus, we know there's people that worship God. Of course, we think of the Israelite people that worship God and the Jews, but that's a very small group of people. I mean, right now it's 1 million people, give or take, but just a few hundred years ago it was only like 70. And so we see other people throughout Scripture, like Job says, "I've heard of you, but now I met you," at the end of the book of Job. So he was obviously monotheistic or believed in one God. And we also see people like Melchizedek, and just there's kind of people throughout Scripture that also are showing us that there's other people that are searching for God during this time. But God is going to use the Egyptians to make his name known across the earth. Sorry, in Exodus chapter 9, verse 14, it says this: "Then you will know that there is no one like me in all the earth. By now I could have lifted my hand and struck you and your people," this is God talking to Pharaoh, "with a plague to wipe them off the face of the earth. But I have spared you for a purpose, to show my power and to spread my fame throughout the earth." So God, over these next few chapters, are going to be using the Egyptians to spread his fame. Let me tell you how he's doing that. When we see God causing plagues throughout Egypt, one thing that you need to remember is these plagues are kind of mocking the gods of Egypt. They had gods that mimicked a lot of the plagues, like frogs and things like that. So when in ancient times, when people would go fight each other, like you have one kingdom versus another kingdom, it's not just this kingdom versus this kingdom. It's our gods versus your gods are fighting, and we are fighting too. And whoever wins this demonstrates that their God is more powerful. That's why David, when he was facing Goliath, said, "I will show this entire assembly that there is a God in Israel." When people would fight, it was fighting really on the behalf of their gods. Well, God says, "I'm going to mock you, make a mockery of you, you who worship frogs and gnats and flies. I'll give you so many of them, you don't even know what to do with them." God is doing this in order to show his glory. One thing that I think is interesting is before God started sending the plagues, the people wanted Moses and Aaron to leave. They actually cursed them in the name of God. Everyone thinks they're on the side of God. Everyone thinks they're right until they realize they're not. So that's why I think we're supposed to walk through life with a humble heart. So we're always searching and trying to find where God is, not where we want him to be. Final thing that I want us to look at is the relationship between Moses and Aaron. Now, Moses and Aaron were brothers, but Moses had a speech impediment, and as we learned from yesterday, Aaron was going to speak on his behalf. And what God says for them to do is Moses is going to be like God, and Aaron is going to be his prophet. And he does this to demonstrate how a prophetic relationship should look with God. It's actually, what I think is so interesting is that we all know the name of Moses. Like if you went into a Sunday school class and asked them, "Who's Moses?" they'd probably raise their hand, like the guy that led the Israelites through the Red Sea. But if you ask them who Aaron was, they may not know. And that's a beautiful relationship because we're supposed to know who sends the prophet. We are the messenger. He writes the message. We should be lesser and he should be greater. So a lot of times in our culture, we idolize the prophet. We idolize the messenger. We idolize the people that are bringing the news or doing the thing. Like, let's say someone was to go and cast out a demon, or someone was to pray over them and they were to walk again. A lot of people would look at that person and be like, "Oh, Logan prayed over this person and he got healed. Look at what Logan did," when in reality, I would have done nothing except been a messenger. So in our life, we should always be looking for ways to make God greater and us lesser. Tomorrow we're going to continue our read through of the book of Exodus. I hope that you join me back here then.